Greetings, family, and welcome to the Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative Presentation and Training. I'm your host, Brother DJ, along with Baba Hekima Kenyama. Greetings, Baba Hekima. How you doing?
Yeah, greetings to you, brother. I'm doing well.
Good to hear your voice this evening. And also greetings to the family, for those of you who are listening in online, and also to those of you who are already calling in to the number. The number to the broadcast tonight, family, is 319-527-6202. Again, that's 319-527-6202. This is a call that we do, family, every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time in an effort to really break down, explain in great detail the aspects of Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative, cooperative principles, and what we also tend to refer to as family-centered economics. It's a 2-hour broadcast in 2 parts. The first half is myself along with Baba Hekima, going over the practical aspects of Us Lifting Us, or ULU. We'll also drill down into some of the things that make Us Lifting Us unique, and what is it that it's designed to do for you as individuals, your family, as well as our overall community. And then once we get to the top of the hour, we kind of switch gears a little bit. We take a break, and when we come back from the break, we're joined by 2 additional board members who walk us through a document called the 10-Point Appeal and Plan for the New Black Economy. They read through all 10 of those points and really take the time to explain for that second hour one of the key points, formulate a very informative discussion around it. In both hours are intended to be interactive, family, so feel free to give us a call at any time you have a question or simply want to give a comment. When you call in and you have a comment, push the number 1 on your phone, push the number 1 on your keypad, and it will highlight your phone number. It will highlight your phone number, and we'll open up your line to give you an opportunity to ask a question or simply give a comment. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Baba Hekima, before we get started with our conversation this evening?
Yes, I would just remind the family that our website, usliftingus.com, we want to encourage everyone to go to the website. If you have not been there, go there as quickly as you can and view our basic video. There are 3 videos on the home page, a 17-minute video for the top one, and that's the one we recommend that you get started with. It lays out the basic premise of ULU, our basic plan. And if you have gone there already, then you are better prepared than if you had not to ask questions and to follow along with our discussion this evening. But I do want to encourage everyone to visit the website. If you have not done so, then as soon as you can, and view the basic information there. That's all I would add now.
Okay, and thank you for that, Baba Hekima. And again, we certainly encourage the family to do that. Definitely do that. So to begin our conversation, Baba Hekima, of course, you know, we always start off with the chuckle in the beginning of our conversation. It's kind of become routine from all of the drama that's been taking place from week to week, you know, across the United States, especially in the political realm. And so, you know, it's interesting times, of course, as I'm sure we all know or have heard. You know, Donald Trump is overseas visiting with some of the foreign leadership in different countries, and you know, he's putting his foot in his mouth and doing all that he can do to represent America in its great fashion. So, family, you know, if there was not a reason why we as people of African descent globally needed to get free from corporate capitalism, This man is no better example. And so, with that being said, Baba Akeem, of course, as you know, there's no shortage of conversation on our home front, so to speak, Black America, around economic development, Black businesses. But as we begin to craft this hour-long conversation, you and I, around some of the fundamental aspects around, of Ulu, give us a sense of where we are as a people right now in this country, and what is it that we're facing, and what is it on a practical level that we must do to really change our economic reality?
Well, thank you for the question and the opportunity. And yes, we chuckle, but at the same time, we've got to be concerned because these are dangerous times as well. Of course, we know that our condition for many of us is worsening. The streets are unsafe in many cases. The level of poverty and despair is, it's not improving. And the reason I say these are dangerous times because we talked about last week a bit about the overall climate that would allow a Donald Trump to rise to prominence and to capture what is arguably the most powerful political seat in the world. And it's really the fact that capitalism is under crisis, that the average American, European American, is feeling under pressure. His way of life is being threatened. This whole idea, process, and discussion, and the economic moves that are being made under the broad term globalism, the average European is having problems with that. Jobs. I looked at a video, I guess, yesterday, again today, and basically the position of this European is that they would tear this place up and start all over again before they allowed themselves to be minimized and brought to the position of being a minority in their own country. When they say their own country, their white country. So this is a dangerous time in terms of fairly recent developments. Of course, the downturn in the European economy starting around 2008, 2009, and continuing, and in some cases they report it's getting a little better, but some of it is permanent, and a whole lot of people are feeling it. And the Europeans who feel it, in their narrow way of thinking, they blame immigrants, they blame African people who were already here, and just any number of things that they latch out at. And so for me, it just heightens the necessity that for those of us who are prepared to do so, that we build an alternative economic system for ourselves where we're not so dependent on elements from outside of our community to address our basic needs and some of our wants. And so overall, we find ourselves essentially in the position that we've always been in for those of us who find ourselves in the Western Hemisphere. We find ourselves in need of systems and institutions that speak to our particular needs, starting with economics as the floor, but all aspects of community. And of course, as we're going to go deeper into, ULU comes into existence to answer a very fundamental need. In almost every discussion, if it happens long enough in our community, economics rises to the top. And if you listen to the discussion, there is this attitude that we have got to somehow find a way to gain greater control of the economics of our own community. And that discussion is being had everywhere, all across the country, all across, in Europe, wherever African people are, we are discussing and raising the question and expressing the need of being in greater control of the economics of our community. The job now is to answer the question of how, and to put in place systems that allow us, in fact, to incrementally gain greater power over the economics of our community. And that's where Us Lifting Us comes in as a well-thought-out plan, strategy, platform, infrastructure that answers the question, how do we incrementally gain greater and greater and greater control of the economics of our community, ultimately aiming to be the dominant force, the preeminent force in terms of commercial activity in our communities and in our nations, so that from an economic, political, and cultural aspect, we're not subservient to others. In fact, we satisfy this need that we have for self-determination, for sovereignty, for self-rule, and satisfy this obvious need to be free of exploitation and domination by others. So I'm sure we're on your agenda, Brother DJ, you're going to want us to get deeper into exactly the ULU system and how it begins to answer the question of how will we gain economic control of our communities.
Definitely. And again, you provide the perfect segue into that question. So given all that we face, economically, socially, politically, in this country, what mechanisms have ULU put in place to really take us from where we are to where we need to be?
Yeah, and I would just ask brothers and sisters who are listening in from around the country and other places as well in the world to have an appreciation for the fact that a handful of us came together in 2011 and with the question that we're dealing with on our minds. And we took our times. We took essentially 2 years to do some fundamental searching and research. And in these 2 years, we came together. We did work probably every day, but we physically came together eyeball to eyeball once a week to report what it is that we found, to turn it upside down, to shake it, to see what it would fall out. And what we found is that many persons and groups in the world were dealing with the same question. And some of them had gone on to put institutions in place that began to satisfy some of their needs. So we were able to learn from other people in the world, other people in this hemisphere as well, in Canada, some in America, Central and South America, Europe, and the Far East. So on the planet, there is this search for an alternative to the predatory capitalism that we suffer under, this monopoly capitalistic system. And so in 2013, June of 2013, we formally brought ULU into existence in its current form as a limited liability company. And what we were trying to do and what we've successfully done as an initiation is to put in place a process and infrastructure that would allow thousands, tens of thousands, and eventually millions of individuals and institutions in our community to come together to aggregate or pool our resources, our intellectual resources, our capital resources, our labor, pool our resources and manipulate them or dedicate them or point them in such a way that we could capture more and more of the resources that typically flow through our fingers and format them in such a way as to incrementally gain greater and greater economic wherewithal, economic power, and to transform that into other forms of power. So our work in ULU has been and is putting in place an infrastructure that will allow us to build economic power and translate that into other forms of power again. And so the limited liability legal structure, along with what we wanted to do as a group-owned enterprise and structuring an operating agreement that allowed us to control and to manage the energy. And so essentially, to make it clearer, is that the platform that we've put in place allows us to pool our resources and then in a very specific way to channel those resources to build for-profit enterprises, for-profit businesses that are structured as co-ops, and to grow these into the hundreds, eventually into the thousands, and that we would, as a collective, be the owners and operators of all of them, and that the success of that operation would spill over and support other institutions in the community, nonprofit institutions, institutions that were the foundations of our culture and that supported community and especially our youth, that this platform would also allow us to strengthen the business sector in our community. So we would ourselves be in business, but by us being in business as a collective, as a group-owned enterprise, we could also strengthen other businesses and sectors in our community that were dealing with providing needed goods and services to our community. And we could grow this, and the idea and the drive is to grow it beyond the shores of America, to link up with our brothers and sisters in Europe and Africa and Central and South America, and where appropriate and where there is an opportunity, we would also focus on specific industries where it would be possible for us to gain greater control of those commodities and aspects of industry such that we could dominate those and have greater control over those industries as well. And so ULU, Us Lifting Us, Economic Development Cooperative, exists for the purpose of giving us the tools to build a global platform, large scale, that in its presence in local communities creates jobs, contributes to charity, but also gives us the capacity to grow the business base. And in the local communities, we look forward to what we call a tipping point, where in that particular community or section of the city, we get to a point where we know and everyone knows that that particular area, that targeted area, we dominate from a commercial or economic standpoint. That's little Africa, not little Korea or not little Italy or Chinatown, but that's our turf. That's our part of the city. And then we grow from there. We take other sections of the city where we pool our resources and put in businesses that are owned by the collective and partner with individually owned enterprises that are black-owned as well. And so the goal is fairly simple. It's to gain incrementally greater and greater control of the economics of our local communities, join those communities with each other, and have a global presence, and just to continue to grow that. Ultimately, we want a situation for African people where we're able to look Europeans in the eye to eye, or Asians eye to eye, from a commercial standpoint, from a power standpoint, and that relationship is healthy. What we know is it's unhealthy when anyone has to look up to another. And we say, in all sincerity, if someone has to look up to another one, let someone else look up to us. It's time out for us to be on the bottom rung. I was just visited with a brother just this afternoon who travels a lot, and he just says wherever he travels, in this country and throughout the world, wherever there are Africans, they're on the bottom rung in every scenario. And so us lifting us and the system and process and infrastructure that we are growing, the intent is to grow that locally, regionally, and globally, such that we would reach those heights. So, in a nutshell, and in broad terms, that's the goal, that's the aspiration, and I'll just simply say in closing, the structure, the legal structure, the administrative structure, the process is already in place. And what we are doing now is populating the process, funding the process, and getting it in motion. And but the DNA, the intent, the aim is pure, it's clear, and it's really no different than any other people in the world have done. In other words, everyone who has had any modicum of success and respect in the world first secured the economics of their community. Otherwise, there is no respect. There is no power. And the same is true for us again. So I'll stop there, Brother DJ.
Okay. And again, thank you for that, Baba Hekima. Given all that we face, here within the continental United States, in the rest of the world, you mentioned when you really stop and look at it, everywhere we are, Africans are on the bottom. Considering that, to be the current reality, what are some of the things that ULU has put in place? Because, of course, we said on previous calls that ULU, us lifting us, is unique in that it is structured as a for-profit limited liability company. Definitely want you to speak to that. But what is it that ULU really offers within this landscape of black economic viability that we just don't find really right now, not only in conversation but in work and in deed in an effort to really uplift our people economically?
Well, I think in a word, it's ownership. It's stakeholdership. Most of what happens from an economic perspective is we either go into business for ourselves, or as an individual we're told to support someone else's activity. What ULU adds, and it is an addition, it's not a substitute. What ULU adds is the good potential for thousands, tens of thousands, and eventually millions of people being owners and actually receiving a benefit because of their ownership. Right now, if you Googled, and let's say the 10 richest people or the 20 richest people in America, probably 3, 4, or 5 of them would be a part of the Walton family, the Walmart family, and the reason for that is that structures that we normally associate with business are structured in such a way that the lion's share of the profits benefit just a few people. So this ownership model that ULU has created, there is no pyramid. There is no ownership structure at the top where only a few people benefit and the workers and the general population does not benefit. This reverses that process. In other words, the profits flow to the greater number, the workers and the persons who associate themselves as owners who may not be workers. So it reverses it. And so what happens, of course, when people know that they're an owner, not only know it in their minds and in their spirits, but in their wallet, because they benefit from it, then essentially there's no limit to what we can build. If the structure is dedicated to providing a needed good or service, creating jobs, and then the profits are returned to the workers and to the other people who contribute capital or tangible resources, because in some cases it may not be money, it may be sweat equity. And so for a model, a group ownership model like that, if it's run well, and there is no other and, but if it's run well, there is no limit to how well it can grow, because again, it's simply meeting a need, creating jobs, and returning the excess profits, because it is, as you indicated, it is a for-profit enterprise. Even though it's organized as a group-owned cooperative enterprise, it is a for-profit enterprise. But the essential ingredients is ownership and stakeholdership for hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, and eventually millions of people who would be owners of the enterprise or group process. And it really takes us back to, and we talk about it almost every week, and we use the term second emancipation. Maybe Trump and Abraham Lincoln are cousins in this sense. Abraham Lincoln supposedly issued the Emancipation Proclamation, because we know the history of that and why and all of that. But Trump is also saying, get off the plantation maybe. I'm being facetious, of course. But this is a time, and it's really been a time. But the thing that we did when we came off those plantations after, quote-unquote, emancipation, we came to each other and formed mutual aid societies and built new cities and communities of business excellence it's time for that again, for the mutual aspect, and for brothers and sisters who champion entrepreneurship and black business. You still got to champion that, but we've got to understand that that's not the only place we can be, and not the only thing that we must champion. We must create a group ownership sector aspect of our economic empowerment efforts. And so I think, to answer your question directly, that ingredient, that component that's been missing is, and by the way, in ULU, and we can go back over that, members and participants are not just individuals. They can be institutions. And as a matter of fact, in our 10-point appeal and plan, we actually do a shout-out to the church, the black church. And so hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands, eventually millions of individuals and institutions participating as owners, stakeholders, and actually having an equity stake in our business success. And it can just simply grow beyond what most of us are willing to imagine.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so with that being said, Baba Hekima, for those who find themselves in business as entrepreneurs, black business owners, what is it that about ULU that is attractive to them? You know, oftentimes these entrepreneurs in our community are like the front line of black economics, you know, or black business in our community. And so what is it that they should consider to be a part of a group ownership structure? You know, some of them may, you know, be on a call tonight on the outside looking in, so to speak, and they're rugged, you know, entrepreneurs, so to speak. That's what drives them. That's what gets them up at 5, 6 in the morning to start their day, being able to create from that perspective. But, of course, group ownership is a slightly different thing. But what is it that ULU is able to lay out to them so that they can see not necessarily a either or, but both and? How do we create the win-win with our black business community?
Yeah, and I would ask brothers and sisters who are in business for themselves to look at ULU as another income stream, because as equity partners in ULU, they qualify for profit sharing. So it could be another income stream. Also look at the possibility of partnerships or special arrangements, buying and service contracts. So ULU will, in a very rigorous sense, be an institution that seeks out black businesses to do business with. So those are two reasons. And the success of ULU strengthens the business environment in our community. If you're doing business in our community and the community, the black community is a part of your customer base, that community doing well and having success overall creates a better business environment for the entrepreneur. And so, and hopefully the entrepreneur who's listening wants our people to be empowered. And so hopefully we would have that as a similar goal. But again, this is just another profit center for the business, another stream of income, and all of the services that we have to pay for as an institution, we want to the extent that we can, if it's 100%, we want to do business with black businesses in the community. And so it's just it's a perfect fit. The other thing, too, ULU will eventually own banks. insurance companies, other financial institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Ulu will be in a position to offer contracts in different arenas. For instance, just to give you an example, of course, as you know, Brother DJ, one of the institutions that we looked at and studied was the Mondragon Cooperative in Spain. And their bank, and this co-op has a bank, and that bank is one of the most successful banks in that part of the country, Spain. And that bank provides services to people who are in need of banking services. But, of course, for Ulu members in that scenario, in the scenario where we own the bank, Ulu own the bank, all of the members would be owners of that bank. And we're not sure the perks, the benefits that would be derived because of Ulu membership. But so the reason I brought that up, because we know that for most businesses in our community, there is not much financial support. And Ulu will not be a source of financial support in the initial years. But eventually, we will own financial institutions and will be looking to strengthen the business base in our country, in our communities and nations, through providing direct support to our black businesses. So there's much to be gained from the business community from a successful Ulu in our local communities and on a global scale.
Wonderful, wonderful. And again, family, for those of you on the call, it's intended to be an interactive conversation, so please feel free to give us a call at any time. At any time, we're having a conversation around some of the practical aspects of us lifting us economic development cooperative, so feel free to give us a call at 319-527-6202. Again, that's 319-527-6202. And push the number 1 on your phone so we can open up your line to allow you an opportunity to ask a question or give a comment. And again, thank you for that information, Baba Hekima, that, you know, you provide such a wealth of information for, you know, our prospective Ulu member family. And we know those who are listening from all over the world are getting the vital information that they need so that they can make an informed decision, understanding why Ulu will work for them, their family, and their community. Baba Kima, oftentimes we talk about the more than $1 trillion that flows through our hand every year in this country, and the fact that we have very little to show for it. Given that fact, walk us through the scenario of what $1 trillion looks like and what we are able to do when that wealth is aggregated appropriately.
Well, $1 trillion, of course, is a lot of money, to say the least. But as an exercise, we have it on our website. And but if one would place $1 million in front of us right now, and then an hour from now come back and place another $1 million in front of us, and then the next hour place another $1 million in front of us, and if that activity continued all day, all week, all month, and all year, at the rate, again, of $1 million an hour around the clock, it would take 114 years before you would reach $1 trillion. And I often say that that for an oppressed people, for a dominated people, for a people who have gone through what we've gone through, for that kind of wealth to pass through our fingers on an annual basis. And we have not devised a method where we would dip into that stream of potential power and capture and redirect a portion of it for our group. You know, individuals have, in small corporations and institutions, have gone and devised ways to satisfy their needs. But as an oppressed people, to have a group system, strategy, scheme, whatever you want to call it, to dip into that flow and pull out, redirect, transfer enough of those resources to put us on a safe footing. The fact that we have not done so is a crime. It's a high crime because we have the audacity to continue to give birth, bring new life into this world. And yet we have not done the very basics. Now, when we see, for instance, in Atlanta, a Korean community that's blossoming, a Chinese community that's blossoming, other communities that are blossoming, those communities and the individuals in those communities come with a different mentality. They come seeking ways to manipulate the landscape, manipulate the economic landscape such that as a collective they can direct resources to empower their group. That's not to say that the individuals don't also have a strategy to enrich themselves and their families, and they do, but they also have a group strategy, a mutual strategy, a group strategy. And so the same is required of us. But we talk about that $1 trillion, but when we look at ourselves globally, well, I won't go there. We'll just stay here. And so so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at that kind of resource-based, potential power-based. And so I'm asking every brother and sister that's on the call to keep their thinking cap on. And as you look at ULU and analyze what you see, think of it from the perspective of a strategy, a plan, a design to empower the group. Oprah has figured out how to empower Oprah. Tyler Perry has figured out how to empower Tyler Perry. Other people have figured out how to empower them and their families. But as a group, and I think it falls short when we simply say to our people in our community that we should just support each other. And we do. But by simply supporting each other in commerce without also funding central planning, funding coordination, funding collective purchasing and other strategies that connect us and give us a way to steer or to guide or to direct our economic activity. So from the ULU perspective, in terms of the more than $1 trillion a year that flows through our fingers, there's an old saying, in the country, you gotta, in order to get something out, you gotta first put something in. In other words, priming the pump, right? You pour water in to get water out. In other words, you gotta create a situation where that well is primed and you pump it and you got a continuous flow. So those of us in ULU now in this stage, we're priming the well, so to speak. We're putting resources in. And then what we do with those resources is start new businesses. And essentially that's moving the pump. and then we will initiate a flow of economic resources that don't satisfy just individuals, but continuously increase the wealth and the economic position of the whole membership, and the membership grows. So I don't want to double back on what we've talked about previously, but the intent when we go to the flow, those dollars that generally flow through our fingers, with for-profit businesses, small, medium, and large, we're going to benefit individuals, but a good portion of that is going to go into a common pot and pool to expand our presence, expand into other industries, secure where we've already started to grow even larger and larger. And so we have on our website, one of the pages of our presentation, we have a graphics of a dam, and on that page there is the word DAM, D-A-M, which is an acronym for Decisive Action with Money. So what we are doing is using not only money but other resources to initiate a process where we provide needed goods and services, create jobs, and as we are successful in generating a surplus or profit, returning profits to our members who stay in the process and who may even acquire more equity, and other people want to take part, and we just get bigger and bigger, and our holdings, our business holdings, become more substantial as well. I'll just say this and I'll stop. None of us should forget that under the leadership of Marcus Garvey, the UNIAACL grew to more than 5 million members. And we can duplicate that and go beyond in terms of participation. But not only with individuals, but with membership being available to institutions, other businesses as well. And so let it not be said in the future that we continue to commit a crime by not devising methods, systems, and infrastructure for empowering our communities.
Thank you for that, Baba Ikema. And in the 10 minutes we have remaining, where can people go to get more information about, well, before we get into that, we'll make that the very last thing, Baba Ikema. Please go over some of the fundamentals for membership, what is required, and why does ULU take the position in terms of membership that it does?
Well, membership is open to brothers and sisters of Black African descent, wherever you are in the world. Members, as I've indicated, can be an individual. A member can be a married couple. And members can be an institution, as long as it's a legal entity. And members do not have to be U.S. citizens, so we can attract members from wherever they are in the world. And members, and only members, can acquire equity in the company. And what I mean by that is that, for instance, membership is $50 a year. And then any monies that you put in beyond your first $50 is equity in the company. And once your equity account reaches $1,000, you qualify for profit sharing. There's some other things that are required as well. But the essential thing is that your equity account reaches $1,000. Now, your equity account doesn't have to stop there. It can continue to grow, And once it grows to another $1,000, then you issued another ownership certificate. You qualify for profit a second time. And as an example, brother DJ, if you own 10 units and I own 5 units and profits were divided, they would be divided equally among the outstanding units, the units of ownership that were in the hands of our members. You would receive the same amount for each of your units that I would receive for each of my units. But because you own 10 units and I own 5 units, you would get twice the benefit monetarily that I would. And so at this point, there's no limit to the number of units that a member, whether that's an individual or an institution, can gain, can acquire. So that's the essentials of membership. There is no limit on the number of members that ULU can have, thousands, tens of thousands, eventually millions. And there's also no limit at this point on the number of ownership units that a member can acquire. However, membership, it doesn't matter how many units you own, membership power is equal. In other words, every member has only one vote and one vote only. And that vote is used to elect a board of directors and to participate in ratifying the basic decisions that we make as a legal entity. But members can own multiple units, but there's only one membership and only one vote per member. Now, we have persons who are members, but their organization is also a member. And in a voting situation, the member can vote for themselves, but they cannot. That same individual cannot vote for the institution. So someone who is not a member must vote for the institution, because no member can have more than one vote, even though a member can have a membership, and the organization that member may belong to can have, if it's a legal entity, can have membership as well. But in no circumstances can an individual have more than one vote. That's the essential aspect of membership in ULU, and the main thing is that as members, we can also be owners and qualify for a direct return of what's typically called a dividend. And in our environment, that can be very handsome because, as I indicated before, there is not the general, what normally happens in business where you have a few individuals at the top who takes away the lion's share of the profits. And so it could be very attractive and very rewarding for the individual member, whether that be a person or a business or an institution like a church or a sorority or whatever. And it's deliberately made that way because as ULU progresses in the coming months and years, and it's known that a person or an institution can empower the community and at the same time empower themselves, that's a win-win situation. And if we're providing a needed good or service, we're creating jobs, and we're donating to charity and providing a direct return or a dividend, that's a win-win situation all around. The only thing we have to be careful of and be sure of, that we manage it well and that we are transparent, that people know where they stand and where the institution stands, and we feel that there's no limit to our growth. We know that we will have opposition, but we know that now, so we just simply build to deal with it and to succeed in spite of it. But those are the essential elements of membership.
And in the 4 minutes that we have remaining, Baba Hakima, before we get to the top of the hour, go ahead and give us that contact information, all of the essential information that one would need to contact us and to stay engaged with our process.
Yeah. Good. Well, Contact Central is our website, usliftingus.com. Again, usliftingus.com. And when you first go there, you're going to see our 10-point appeal and plan, and then go beyond that to our home page or our main page, and everything that you need. The forms, feedback forms there to ask any question. You can email us at info@usliftingus.com. Of course, we're here every Thursday evening, and we really do invite brothers and sisters to ask questions live here on the call, and it's invigorating when brothers and sisters do interject themselves and provide. Let me get you to hold this. Yeah, we got some disturbance, so it's okay. So the website, usliftingus.com, the email address, info@usliftingus.com, our phone number, 404-592-2780, 404-592-2780. I guess that's it. And again, this conference call every Thursday evening. Now, for brothers and sisters who simply received our email and who called in, understand that people are listening live on Blog Talk Radio and from our website. And this recording is being archived so that you can listen to it later on. You can send a link to this recording to people that you know. And we encourage you to bring brothers and sisters back to this call next week. And if you have the opportunity to set up a group situation where you listen to the call and then have a discussion afterwards, do your due diligence as a group. And very often in a group setting, you'll think of things, and things will come up in the group setting that you might not think of on your own. So we encourage everyone to use this call as well. Now, be assured that we haven't thought of everything. We haven't crossed every T and dotted every I. This is a process that will forever be in the process of perfection. And we need brothers and sisters to look over our shoulders, to challenge us, because if we have it right, and if we are correct in our analysis, in our assumptions, and our projections, this is going to be the most powerful process that's ever been brought to our people. And so I encourage you, those of you listening, to look at it as you analyze it from that perspective and make sure that it meets the test. And where you see weaknesses or fallacies or errors, know that this is brought to the community in the purest sense. We want to be corrected. And the other thing, DJ, I'll say, this is a model. It's a democratic model. One member, one vote with elected leadership. Mm-hmm. There is no czar here. There's no king here. There's no queen here. Leadership is elected by the membership. And so that's important. And we want to create a platform that will outlive all of us, and that we don't have to keep recreating the machinery. and that we're building this for our children and our grandchildren, and for future generations. So we're probably at the top of the hour. Is that the case?
Yeah, we're right there. We're right there, and we certainly want to thank you for all of the, informative information. And again, family, we hope that you received it well. You process it. Certainly go to the website, usliftingus.com. Contact us with whatever further questions you may have. Yeah, contact us with any other questions you may have. Feel free to email us. But again, family, this process is designed for us to not only be engaged, but to stay engaged. And this world-class organization can only do what it does with your help and with your support. And so, again, we encourage everyone on the call to go to the website and to take out a membership. It only costs $50 a year, family. It only costs $50 a year. And that's nothing compared to what's at stake for us on an individual, a family, and a community level. Any closing words, Baba Hakima, before we take a break and we switch gears when we come back on the other side?
No, I think you wrapped it up well, brother. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And again, family, with that said, we're going to go ahead and take a short break at this time for about 2 minutes. And when we come back on the other side, we'll be joined by 2 additional board members who will walk us through our 10-point appeal and plan for the new black economy. Stay tuned. All right, family. We're back on the other side. And again, this is the Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative presentation and training. And we're joined by Babas Oshi and Kimbizi. Greetings, elders. How y'all doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine, Brother DJ. Outstanding first part of the hour between you and Baba Hakima. Outstanding. A lot of great information that was presented.
Wonderful.
Hey, Baba Oshi and DJ, good to hear your voice. I echo what Oshi said. DJ, good first hour.
Yeah. Very good first hour.
Definitely appreciate it. And so, the elders are going to walk us through our 10-point appeal and plan for the new black economy. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, my brother. And how are you doing, Baba Kimbizi? How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Baba Oshi. Good to hear your voice.
You too, dear brother. You too. Let's hopefully that we'll get a lot of good listeners and callers, and people will call in and want to go back and forth with what ULU is all about and how they can become a member, and more important, how they can invest into it or get shares into it or units into it, so that we can make what we've been talking about become a reality in our community. I think just as Baba Hakima said eloquently in the first hour, these are very perilous times, and we are going to need we're going to need a economic alternative to what we're experiencing if we're going to find a way to help our community, help our people. Otherwise, there'll be so many of us who will be suffering tremendously because of lack of funding, because we live in a capitalistic system, and for those who have, great, but for those who have not so much. And unfortunately, we have been those who don't have that much. In fact, we've been as a permanent underclass, which is unfortunate for us, But we can get out of that. We have the ability to change that. It is in our hands. We can do this, And one of the ways that we can do this is one of the ways we can do this is our 10-point plan. I'm going to read the 10-point plan and appeal, and then you can focus on this evening's main point that we want to emphasize. The 10-point plan and appeal, and I believe that it was well thought out. It is outstanding document to explain what ULU is about. You know, current events and the general unrest of the times call for radical change. The following points provide practical and necessary steps for a new and positive existence for us today and for future generations. I think we must understand that we must prepare for our future. We must prepare for the young people coming after us, our grandsons and our grandchildren, and then their children and grandchildren. It's imperative. Number one, as black people, we will take full responsibility for the economic destiny of our communities and nation. Number two, black persons and black institutions, especially the black church, join together as members in a large-scale cooperatively owned business enterprise to pool our resources. Number three, this cooperatively owned business enterprise is reflective of our unique culture and interests in the world. Number four, the governance and legal form of the cooperative accommodate democratic principles, one member, one vote with elected leadership. Number five, only members of the cooperative and not the public have the opportunity to secure ownership or units or equity in the business enterprise with the potential to amass billions of dollars for community development. Number six, the cooperative focuses on opening and operating businesses in local communities that, number one, provide needed goods and service. Number two, create new jobs. Number three, stimulate additional business activities. And number four, yield a fair profit. Number seven, the cooperative is driven to duplicate and expand into hundreds and eventually thousands of businesses, all owned and controlled by the collective. Number eight, the net profits from overall cooperative success are used to, one, reinvest, two, for the distribution of grants and endowments, and number three, direct returns or dividends to member owners of the cooperative. Scale cooperatively owned, group-owned business enterprise functions as a catalyst and central element in building and sustaining the new black economy, one that gives power to our people. Number 10, us lifting up, ULU. Economic Development Cooperative, LLC, serves as the after-mentioned model to make all that happen. And a special note, these 10 points from the basis for the black economic development, the security and welfare of our people starts with our determination to control the economics of our communities and nation. Black people and black people alone hold the key to the gateway leading to their freedom from the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey in 1923. Brothers and sisters, this is our responsibility. It is in our hands. Let us do what we must do and know to do, which is right for us to do for us ourselves. Brother Kimbizi.
Yes, sir.
What's up, Baba? What's up, Baba?
We're good.
Yes, we are.
Tonight we're focusing on point number 6. The cooperative focuses on opening and operating businesses in local communities that, 1, provide needed goods and services, 2, create new jobs, 3, stimulate additional business activity, and 4, yield a fair profit. Before we get down point by point, I want to share a quote that I heard at the Clark Atlanta University commencement services. My daughter graduated this past Monday. And
congratulations.
Well, thank you. The speaker said this. He said, "You can only actualize what you can visualize." And that resonated with me. And it reminded me of what we had been saying when we were reading Ezra Aharon's book, Sovereign Psyche, because the point that Aharon is making is we first have to see ourselves. In other words, we have to be sovereign in our psyche before we then go ahead to reproduce the institutions that allow us to actualize the fact that we are a sovereign people. So I said that to say that when we talk about us lifting, us taking economic control over the destiny of our communities, the first step in this process is to see ourselves as sovereign people, self-determining people who have said we are going to be responsible for how we live together in our communities. We are through with being victims. We are through with just accepting whatever capitalism puts on us, and we're going to take control and begin to behave and to organize in a way that we control the economics, the politics, and all the social aspects of our communities. So what that means for us then is that the first step is that we're going to be operating businesses in our local communities. Now, one of the things that Baba Oshi, can you still hear me?
I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I can.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One of the things that ULU has put in place is what we call base collectives, where in each community where we have a number of members, we are pulling ourselves together in groups of 10 to 12. We're doing an assessment of the economic needs of those communities. We're studying the various cooperative ways that we can address those economic needs, and we're building the businesses and the economic infrastructure to meet the economic and political needs in our communities. At the same time, we're looking at what businesses can we operate quickly and efficiently as a cooperative. In other words, a collectively owned business that will allow us to provide the goods and services that community needs. So one example is in Atlanta, for example, we are very quickly moving towards operating a coffee shop and internet cafe. Probably it may be called Cafe Ulu or some branding that will quickly identify it as an Us Lifting Us enterprise. But the beauty of it, Oshi, is that this is a business that will be owned by the members of Us Lifting Us. And we have to really wrap our minds around group ownership. In other words, we walk in and out of businesses in our communities every day, and we never raise the question to ourselves, who owns this business? Who's benefiting from the money I'm spending in this business? Sad to say, too often, even though we are patronizing those businesses by the hundreds and the thousands, the wealth of those businesses doesn't stay in our community. So what we propose doing is opening businesses in our community that are owned by us, so that not only does the business provide a good and a service, the money stays in the community, turns over and over and over, creates jobs for our community, and then the return from the business success comes back to us in the form of return on profit or return on investment, and there's money available for charity and the other needs that our community has, so that there's no limit to the number of businesses that we can operate, because for every business in our community that is a capitalist business, we can do that business more effectively, more efficiently as a cooperative, rather than allowing that business to continue to stand and exploit our community and take the money to other places. One point I want to make Oshie, and then I'll turn it back to you, is when we start talking about the cooperative economic model for doing business, what we're doing is we are redefining the purpose of the business in the first place. We're saying that the purpose of the economy is to develop all the people that live in the community. And it is not to make a small group of people filthy rich. We see businesses open up and operate, and we've been conditioned to think about the handful of people that own the business, and they're going to be wealthy, and they're going to do well. The rest of us just go in and out, buy the goods, get what we need, go home. No, we're going to begin to operate the businesses ourselves, employ ourselves, generate the profit, and see that profit come back into our own pockets and enable us to provide the services that our communities need. I'll pause there, Oshie.
Well, Baba Kimbizi, you're right on point in your assessment of number 6, but more importantly, the importance of developing the cooperative to truly provide goods and services, and more important, economic opportunities, job opportunities, and a number of things that can happen through this cooperative model. We know that this capitalistic model cannot work for us. It hasn't. I mean, these statistics are just horrifying. In fact, when they talk about the income gap, the wealth gap, which is so large and so huge in this country that even the discussion of any kind of equity is impossible. They said that it would take 200-something years before the wealth gap is narrowed or even closed. That means that Caucasians, Europeans wouldn't get in. Their money would be froze at that particular point, and we would be able to get incremental raises and so forth. And it would take over 200 years for that to happen. I mean,
right.
Because the reality is that this country has set itself up in such a way that it has created an oligarchy, a small group of very, very rich individuals, who dominate and control everything. In fact, there's not a lot of smaller businesses because they have been gobbled up by conglomerates, by, big business. And unfortunately, we're not in that mix, so we're in a position to beg for jobs.
Right.
We're in a position to beg for jobs, and that's why our situation is what it is, because when you come there begging, you get crumbs. So you may get a little bit here and there, but ultimately our overall community does not benefit, And so we're presenting this economic cooperative model as a way for all of us in our community to benefit, to provide some much-needed funds for education for our people, training for our people, aside from what we're going to offer them in terms of, I know we're talking about right now what we're going to do with and I like the Ulu Cafe, or Cafe Ulu. I like that. Cafe Ulu, which is also a internet cafe, and that's beautiful, and we'll probably offer some food and things like that. But down the road, to develop the Ulu Mall or Ulu Mart, or to develop a supermarket, and not just here in Atlanta, but in other major cities. Because just like the Cafe Ulu is we're here in Atlanta, we're starting it here, but we envision this across the country and basically around the world, because we have that kind of potential. Imagine that where you go, in the Caribbean, where you go on the continent, all of that is possible for us if we can understand and share that vision. I know I do, you do, and Sister Nanana and Brother Thurman and many others, of course, Baba Kemishe and Brother DJ, we all share this particular vision. And we're trying to articulate this to our people so they can see it and sharing it as well. And it's a matter of time before it happens, I believe. It's just that we have to stay steadfast. We have to stay diligent. number one, it's something different, you know, especially to us. I know there's a history of cooperatives, you know. Right now, the Mondragon model is still going very strong. And how long has that been in existence, Baba Kimbizi?
They started that in 1956.
Wow. So you can
And
see over 60
years.
years.
It went from one company manufacturing kerosene heaters to now where they operate more than 230 businesses. They employ upwards of 83,000 people who are also owner workers, and they're doing in excess of $20 billion a year in annual sales. So, and thank you for bringing it up, because we need to start thinking on that scale of business. We're not talking, and to your point, we're not talking about opening up one business. We're talking about opening a chain or chains of businesses in every major community where there are significant populations of African American people. We're not talking about employing 10 or 15 people. We're talking about employing tens and hundreds of thousands of our people in businesses that they own and control. It would be funny if it wasn't so tragic that America presents itself as this great democracy around the world. But the truth is, if where you work is not a democratic space, then democracy doesn't really is not the major form of decision making in the country. And what I mean by that is when our people go on jobs, whether it's Verizon or AT&T or Ford or Georgia Power, any entity that we want to name that employs thousands of people, Walmart, once they step inside the door and punch the clock, they don't have decision-making power inside of those structures. So here we spend anywhere from 25 to 40 to 60 hours a week of our waking hours doing labor that is making other people multimillionaires and billionaires, and if they decide to close that business, we don't have anything to say about where it will relocate, if it will relocate. All of the decisions that impact the workers directly, they have no say in whether or not the company should do that. That is not democracy. And only a cooperative enables the people who work there to have a voice in the decision-making that goes on that affects their lives. It's time out for those kinds of workplaces that don't allow the workers to actually run the business, because it impacts them directly and the communities where these businesses are located.
Right.
Go ahead, O'Shea.
And consequence, people work many years hoping that the business won't close, hoping that their investment, the 401k or whatever a plan they may have, their insurance and so forth, all those things will be in place, when it's their time. And sometimes it's not, because they had no say.
That's right.
And as a consequence, they could be left out. But with this model that we are presenting to our people as a collective model, you'll always have a say.
Exactly.
And your family will have a say. You may invest to the point where you're looking at your children as they're coming up, especially your teenage kids, instead of them going out begging for jobs from somebody. We have jobs for them because they're members of the co-op. Your family is a member of the co-op.
Right.
So, it truly behooves us to really embrace this model, to look at it. Like I said, there's already examples of it, so it's nothing. So it's not just something that we're talking about. It's something that has been done and being done, and we can get it, and we can take it to another level because of our numbers and the money that we have, particularly here in America and globally. The possibilities of Baba Kambizi are just endless, and they're very positive if we embrace them.
You're absolutely right, Oshi. And the point that Baba Hekima made, I don't know if he made it last week or the week before, he just reminded us rather gently that, first of all, Ulu exists. This is not an idea on the drawing board still. It literally and actually exists. So now we have the actual working model, and so now it's time for us to come off the sidelines being spectators, roll up our sleeves, and ask, okay, how and where do I plug in? I got my $50 annual membership in hand. I'm ready to board this train. I'm ready to start building my equity account to get to the $1,000 necessary to purchase a co-op share. Let's do this, especially now, because the interesting thing is, as we are watching, and DJ and Hekima opened up the 9 o'clock hour talking about the crisis of the Trump administration. Not only is the Trump administration in crisis, but they are reflective of the crisis in capitalism in America. They are so desperate to maintain control over the economy and the politics that they have thrown caution to the wind. They have elected people who are incompetent, who are ignorant, who are arrogant, doing everything they can think of to maintain this political and economic model that allows white people to maintain control over the country. They realize that their numbers are dwindling. The numbers of African Americans and Hispanic and other immigrants have reached the place where white people by 2030 will be a minority in the United States of America. And rather than allow that to happen, they are deporting everybody that they can. They are putting everybody else in jail. They are depriving everybody else of their right to vote. They have, for all intents and purposes, destroyed the American democracy just so that white people can remain in power. And in spite of all of that, it's still collapsing. So in this moment is an ideal time for us to build our own economic structures so that we do two things. We survive the collapse of their system, and at the same time, we give to ourselves and the world a sustainable economic model that will allow us to thrive going forward into the future.
And what this is going to take is a mind change, a mindset, a different mindset for our people.
Say that again.
To be able to think collective. What this is going to take is a development of a different mindset. We have to reclaim or restore the African mindset that we once had, where we understood Ubuntu. We are together. We're not like the Caucasians, I think, therefore I am. No, we are African people. I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. We think collectively. It reminds me of that phrase Ubuntu when the Boston Celtics used it back in 2008 and for their championship. That was their rally cry. That was the mantra, Ubuntu. We are together. It's like when the Caucasian asked these young kids in Africa, says, I want you guys to run a race from this point to that tree, and the winner will get this basket of goodies or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they all went there together. And the Caucasian said, wait. I said, no, I want to. One, he says, no, this is us, Ubuntu. We are together. So they shared that basket together. You know, this is the concept that we must begin to understand how important it is for us to develop. It's going to require a mind change, a mental exercise of us thinking and acting and behaving in that way. Thinking that what's most important is not about me and mine, but what's most important is about ours. Is about us, that we share, you know, and we hold one another accountable. I think that's one thing that is going to be very important for us moving forward, is the responsibility and the accountability and the transparency of what we're talking about, of what we're doing, you know. Because here in America, when you talk about some things, you're especially something that is new, a new concept, you're worried about scams. You're worried about being taken advantage of. You're worried about, you know, losing whatever investments that you may have had, or even if you put a lot of money into your savings. So, but what we have developed here with Ulu, with Us Lifting Us, is right there. You can go to the website. You can get on this call on every Thursday. You can call some of our members, talk with them personally, find out from them, you know, why they joined and what it means to them and so forth. You know, I know for me, I'm going to get my share in this year. This year, next time, I'm going to have my $1,000 in, and then I'm going to continue to work more because I believe in this concept. I believe that what we need at this moment is this kind of model. It is right here for us. I know there are some of us who haven't heard of this. In fact, there's a lot of us who haven't heard of this. But it's incumbent upon us to tell our story, to get it out there, to make sure that our brothers and sisters are aware that there's an opportunity for us to pull our resources, and do for ourselves, you know, and it's way past time.
Yep.
It's way past time.
And you said something. You said something really, really important when you said it's going to take a mind shift or a change of mind. And I was listening. I think it was Marimba Ani, who, along with many others, is talking about the re-Africanization of our minds. And in other words, we have to re-Africanize ourselves. We have to go back. We have to Sankofa, go back and fetch those aspects of African culture that made us great. And there's at the root of that re-Africanization is the concept of ma'at, truth, justice, righteousness, order, balance, harmony, and reciprocity. When we practice those values and let them guide our behavior, we can build a sustainable world. And brings me to my last point on the point 6, this whole notion of a fair profit. Under capitalism, it's maximum profit at all costs. So even when it doesn't make sense, you continue to gouge and exploit your market even to the breaking point. For example, we know we're in global warming. We can see the results in the weather of the planet temperature rising, and people, the Russians and the oil oligarchs in this country are still scrambling, trying to drill more oil wells and pour more fossil fuels into the atmosphere because that's their money-making model. So common sense has no place in that equation. We in Us Lifting Us, we're talking about a fair profit. What makes sense? What will allow us to achieve our economic goals, and at the same time do it in a way that's sustainable, that can carry us into the future without damaging the planet. We have to get to a place where we control the economics and not where the economics control us. So in America, there is no rational thinking about money. The only guiding principle is maximum profit. and maximum profit has brought us to the brink of near destruction and social collapse. So when we talk about, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when you talk about maximum profit, and I wonder if some of us understand this, because like the greed of this system is such that you have a business. You made $1 million last year profit. You made $1 million last year, but this year you only made $900,000.
Right.
You still made $900,000.
Right.
But in the business, it was almost like a loss because you didn't make more. You didn't make over $1 million in profit. So you each year you always got to have more, and more. You know, that's why you've seen the escalation of salaries for professional athletes and professional business. Where you see now, I mean, when I was coming up, we were kids, man. Somebody making $1 million a year playing sports was literally unheard of. But now it's tens of millions. Some sign contracts into the hundreds of millions.
That's right.
You know, and so if somebody is signing a contract and getting paid, imagine those who are paying them what they're making. You know,
right?
So you know, we are in a model that is detrimental for us. Actually, it's detrimental for the world. On my radio program on this network, I have a radio program Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. here on the Motherland Media Network. And one program we talked about the idea that capitalism is going to ruin the world, not just America, because capitalism is the engine that's driving a lot of what's happening in the world. Just like you mentioned the fossil fuel situation. You know, the reason why, and it's keeping this real, the reason why Rex Tillerson is the Secretary of State, the only job that Rex Tillerson has ever had is working for ExxonMobil, going all the way to the CEO of ExxonMobil, the only job. And so he has no knowledge of government and so forth, but he has a $500 billion deal on the table with the Russians.
Right. That's right.
You know, and
it's being blocked by the Obama administration sanctions on Russia. Right. Exactly. So he's there to get those sanctions off so they can get that $500 billion oil deal working.
And just as you said, you know, I mean, the scientists, those who are honest about it, told them over 30-some years ago, you know, burning fossil fuels is going to mess up because the greenhouse effect is going to mess up the ecology, it's going to mess up the planet, and so forth. And now you see it. And yet still they say, well, we don't believe it, and they still want to try to get oil. You know, they're still looking for oil reserves and burning oil as opposed to the alternative energy sources that are just right there for us, wind and sun, you know, right there. You know, I think that's one of the things that those in big oil who bought out the solar many years ago, because if you remember, Baba Kambizi, Jimmy Carter, when he was president, was trying to promote that. There was issues around energy, because especially coming out of OPEC, you know, those issues. And they said, well, you know, there's all other energy sources that we could use. And he put solar panels on the White House. As soon as Reagan was elected, one of the first things he did was get those solar panels off the White House and find more ways for his buddies in the oil industry, you know, to go ahead once again. And, in fact, it was Ronald Reagan that has messed this economy up. Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, England, that has met, because prior to them, what a CEO made and what a midline worker or even a laborer made was not that far off. It was maybe a few thousands. It wasn't tens of thousands. It wasn't hundreds of thousands like it is today. You know.
We got Brother Michael Campbell standing by for our team member spotlight tonight, Hoshi. And he's with Black on Purpose TV. and as an example of the kinds of businesses that ULU will partner with and help to start, because we need media outlets that are telling our story through our eyes and from our perspective.
Exactly.
I'm wondering, DJ, has Brother Campbell logged on yet?
Brother
Not
DJ.
yet. I'm looking for. Yes, I'm here. I'm looking for his number now.
Well, we
You
look
got his
forward
number?
to
It ends in 3225, DJ.
I'm looking forward to hearing from Brother Campbell and how we can utilize his program to promote what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But DJ, when you get him, let us know. So what, as you and I were saying, Baba Oshi, this idea of a fair profit is a very important question for us. And what is the purpose of the profit? So that we want to redistribute that wealth, to undergird the institutions that we need. For example, a first-rate educational system, also a healthcare system, because we've been poisoned for the last couple of 100 years, and whereas cancer 50 years ago was a rarity, nowadays it seems like just about everybody knows somebody battling cancer.
That's right.
Exactly. So that
exactly.
we need a healthcare system that is honest. And the only way we're going to get that is we're going to have to fund it ourselves. So that, once again, that's the economy serving the needs of the people rather than the people being exploited by the economy so that a handful of people can be obscenely rich.
Right. And see, because even our people didn't understand the health care issue. When Barack Obama first proposed it, he was proposing a single payer, which would have been much like what other Western countries have, which is affordable health care, almost like free health care, because everybody pays into
Medicare
it,
for all.
Exactly. And doctors were in on it, everybody was in on it, except the insurance companies.
Exactly.
Because what was done was for the insurance company. So, to me, and I hate to use the term Obamacare. In fact, I don't like it at all. I didn't want to use it when they first started saying it because I knew how they were saying it.
We just call it the Affordable Health Care Act.
Exactly. But even though that, Baba Kambizi, that's a misnomer because it wasn't a health care act. It was an insurance act. And as a consequence, all the young people that they needed to pay into that insurance program, because it almost works much like what we're talking about, like a cooperative. A bunch of young folks pay into it who may not need it and hopefully doesn't need it, but for other people like us who are older and some of us who have preconditions and so forth will definitely need it, and that will keep costs down because more people are paying into it. So when the young people pull out of it, insurance rates and those premiums started going up and up and up, and some of them off the charts. You had some people who worked one or two jobs but was paying over $1,000 in insurance, in health insurance. A friend of mine, a guy I know whose wife was battling cancer, was paying $1,500 a month. So once again, because of the greed of this nation, it is beyond time, particularly for us, to develop and embrace a new model of economics. And we are providing that. We are offering that. All that needs to happen is, brothers and sisters, look into it, give us a call, go online, look at the program, join, and let's pull these resources and so we can begin to do for ourselves. I know you are, Baba Kambizi. I know I am. I'm tired of begging anybody for things that I know that we can do for ourselves. I'm tired of it. It's way past time.
Right. it reminded me of what Hakeem and DJ was saying in the last hour. $1.3 trillion passes through black fingers every year. $1.3 trillion. And the example that Hakeem said, and we say it almost every week, if you put $1 million in front of us on the table from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and then you put another $1 million on the table from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and then you put another $1 million on the table from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and you keep doing that round the clock, and you do that for 24 hours, and then you do it all week, all month, all year, it would take 114 years to get to $1 trillion.
Wow.
But that's the kind of money that is flowing through our hands. We are talking about diverting 0.5% of that into building our own economy, a secondary economy to start with, so that we can begin to provide jobs, goods and services to ourselves, for ourselves. This is not rocket science. But as you said, O.C., this is something that requires a mind change, a mind shift. We have to stop seeing ourselves and being comfortable with ourselves as victims. Oh, we know the system ain't right, but it is what it is. That kind of language was yesterday's talk. Today's talk is this system is not working. There's a better model. We're going to do for self. We're going to build our own economy. We're going to build our own institutions. We're going to employ ourselves. We're going to meet our own needs. And we're going to do it, as you said, Oshi, together. That's us lifting us.
That's right.
And it's just a matter of our people saying, it's time. Let's do this.
Let's do this. And it's been time. You know, when some of us talk about there were periods of time where we were doing something with and for each other back at the turn of the last century. Well, we had to, because of segregation and mean-spiritedness and Caucasians not wanting to serve us and so forth. We had to. We had to come together and build hotels and restaurants and movie theaters and so forth, looking at Tulsa, Oklahoma, looking at Rosewood, Florida, Elaine, Arkansas, and there were many others. But also, too, we were in an environment where there was social and physical terror because of Caucasians' jealousy and insecurity and selfishness and greediness that they would say some brother molested a white woman, and then use that as the pretext to come into those communities to literally rob them, go into their homes and take their stuff. And then if they didn't leave, they would kill them. It was estimated well over 300 people died in the 1921 Tulsa situation. We know what happened in Rosewood. They did that in Rosewood and literally took it off the map. They took Rosewood off. Once they got rid of the brothers and sisters, they took them off the map, you know. And so since that time, we have been fighting for equality, which is so ridiculous and elusive. Because to me, I don't want to be equal with these folks who have stolen, murdered, robbed, and steal. That's why, to me, it's very difficult to say that we could be sovereign in this land in the midst of an open and sworn enemy. But what we can do is we could pull our monies together and we can build businesses that we operate. So when someone says, who owns this business? The workers can turn around and say, we do. We own this business.
That's right.
This is ours. And we profit from this together, you know? So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, it is going to kind of take that kind of mind change for us.
But,
it's going to be difficult.
You know, Oshi, it's like if you look at the Jews, for example, and this may not be the best illustration, but they knew that the only way they were going to be protected globally, they had to have a national homeland somewhere, and so they set up the state of Israel. So Israel, as a nation, is sovereign. Now that means that Jews anywhere in the world are protected because they have a sovereign homeland. So when when African Americans in the United States talk about sovereignty, we're talking about Africa being our sovereign homeland. That gives us protection and status wherever we are in the world, whether we're in England or America or the Caribbean, anywhere we go. We have stature and status because we have a sovereign base, a sovereign homeland.
Right.
Exactly. And so the challenge is when we talk about us lifting us, building this cooperative economic platform, we also have to understand that this is a global economic platform. It's not just in the United States. This extends to the Caribbean. It extends to Africa and South America. Wherever African people are, African-descended people are, this is the economic model that serves our needs and allows us to exchange goods and services.
I have that same vision, Baba Kimbizi, that, that this model can be duplicated for African people globally. And considering that we are well over 1 billion people on the planet, imagine if we could change our minds the way we have thought, purge ourselves of all that negativity, purge ourselves of all that European thought processes that we've been impacted with. As I like to say all the time, the European has a vice grip on our mind. And if we understand that tool, once the vice grip is set, you cannot just pull it apart. You have to turn that knob at the end of the handle. The turning of that knob is the acquisition of knowledge of self. This program, every Thursday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, is the program that will help you develop that mindset where you can turn that knob at the end of the handle and release that vice grip. And not that you challenge Caucasians or battle against them. No, they are who they are. They are going to do what they're going to do. But you challenge each other. You challenge ourselves to be the best men and women. And more importantly, you pull the resources together to form a new paradigm, a new economic model for our people. So that's where we are. We only have a few more minutes left. Our caller, unfortunately, didn't call in this week. Hopefully, maybe we can talk to Brother Michael Campbell and have him call in next week because I'm really anxious
get him next week.
Yeah, let's get him next week.
We'll get him next week
to hear what he can do. Yeah. So we only got a couple of minutes left, Baba Kimbizi.
Well, what? Why don't you give the website and that other information so people can get in touch with us, Baba Oshie?
I sure will. You can give us a call. You can give us a call at Us Lifting Us at 404-592-2780. 404-592-2780. And brothers and sisters who are on the call or listening online, please, whatever information that we are providing, please share this. Please share this with friends and family members and relatives. Please share this information. Also, you can go to our website, usliftingus.com. Usliftingus.com. This is a Ujamaa economic model, but what we like to call it here with Us Lifting Us is family economics. We're practicing family economics because we are a family pulling our resources, working with one another, and helping one another. So this is the solution, dear brothers and sisters, and we are here. We've been formed. Everything is straight up and above board. We are legal, and we're going to continue to move forward. And we're asking you to join us. We're asking you to join us to help make this a reality at this day and in this time for our people, particularly for our future. Because in this America is uncertain. Just as you just said earlier, I only have about a minute or so, but since Caucasians are experiencing negative population growth globally, Europeans, Caucasians are experiencing negative. What it means is that for everyone that's born, 2 die. And so here in this country, which they pride themselves on being a democracy and majority rule, one thing that they don't want to happen, they do not want to be a minority in population in this country. That's why we have been experiencing zero population growth because of mass incarceration, because of a number of things. So you got any last words, Baba Beezy?
No, you summed it up. You summed it up pretty good, Oshi.
Well,
other than to say, so we'll be here same time.
That's
Go
right.
ahead, Oshi.
We'll be back here next week. We'll be back here, right here, brothers and sisters, same time, from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Motherland Media Network on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't listen online, you can call us at 319-527-6202, 319-527-6202. Thank you for listening, brothers and sisters. Spread the word, and we will see you next week. Peace.